keep getting a message. Okay. If you are in the military, you can upload that documentation. So it just, you don't need to, upload a whole lot of paperwork, but just like your, where you get paid, like your pay stub, or your papers that say that you're in active duty. But if we're counting that income, we need to know that how much you actually make, or again, the application is going to be incomplete. If your child gets any chronic illness that is going to determine if you're going to be eligible. Really for the chronic illness, it's like if you're over income, we can make you eligible because of the chronic illness, if it is. And what a chronic illness is, it's basically if it's an illness that your child is experiencing that will interfere with their day-to-day activities. Asthma is not a chronic one, which we get it, but we go with the guidelines. Now, if it's a chronic asthma, sure, but we have to have the documentation from the doctor. It can't be a parent's note, saying that this is what they deal. They have to have the inhaler, every 2 hours. It has to be from a doctor because, again, the NC Pre-K is a free, program. We do have guidelines, and it's state and federal funded. So we need to make sure that we are following those type of the guidelines. If your child has an IEP, we definitely need you to upload that. And what you would do with that is you wouldn't upload all those papers, but you would upload like that first sheet that actually gives the days of service, like how far, the day that the child was evaluated, and then how far are the services going to continue. That is very important, because if you do not have an active IEP, that cannot qualify you if you are trying to use the IEP to be eligible. And again, if you're over income, that is one of the qualifying factors that we will look at. Does your child have an active IEP? And then the disabilities, if they have any disabilities, again, those documentations are really mainly just used to see if you can qualify to enter into the program if you are over income. All right, so this is the page, again, like where it says NC Pre-K, what I need to know, that is on the online application. You will actually see that again. If you drop down to number 10, it says, please note, our 25-26 NC Pre-K sites are subject to change. Funding has not been finalized for the 25-26 school year. You will be contacted if a site you have chosen does not get funded. Every effort will be made to grant your first choice, but sometimes this is not possible. So sometimes sites in the middle of the year or right before I start placement, they may not want to continue to be a site. So we will have to take that site off there. So we will contact you as soon as we know, let you know that that site will no longer be participating and you need to choose another site. Over to the right, there is the NC Pre-K sites, and I put stars beside the ones that I'm going for you to really pay attention to. So when you pick your choices on the online application, I'm trying to think, you do have to pick at least 2 sites, because some parents only pick one. And now that it's online, it's like, I need you to kind of pick more than 2. But if you only want one, that's all you want. But the online application, it requires you to pick at least 2. You can pick up to 4 or 5, I believe, on the online application. And you will do that in the order of your preference, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's listed on there in the order. So the private side, so all of these are free, but we do have some of the NC Pre-K classrooms that are in the private child care centers. Those are the ones that are listed. If you was aware, we have taken off 2 sites. They will not be participating this year in the private child care section. Then we have the Lexington City Schools. Then we have Thomasville City Schools. And then we have Davidson County Schools. You cannot be placed at one of these schools in the public school if you do not live in their district. So you have to live in the Lexington City School District or the Thomasville or the Davidson County. So if your application has all of those choices, we're going to take the ones out that do not apply to you. So be very careful when you're picking these schools out, because I can't place you at a school if you're not in their district. Okay. All right, so this page right here is when you get ready to start your application, you're going to have to fill out all this information. It's asking for your child's name, citizen, going down race, and then your address, and then who does the child live with. So you're going to check on the online, you're going to put, either both parents, mother, father, parent, step parent, the legal guardians or custodian or other caregiver. You're going to put that in there. And then if you are a foster parent, you're going to put all that information is on the online. You just have to click on certain boxes and it's going to drop down and you get to pick what applies to you. And then your primary contact person, which is going to be the mother or father, and then the relationship to the child. Please put your cell phone number in there. Please put an email, because that's the only way that you're going to get communication from us is through the cell phone or your email. If you have a secondary contact, you can put that down there. The emergency contact, I believe there is an asterisk, meaning that you have to put somebody down for emergency contact. And then you're going to fill down all of the household members. Everybody, we have to count everybody that lives in the house with that child. So you have to put all the information down there, and it's going to ask you that information that you see there, the date of birth or age or the relationships to the child. Now, we do not count your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncle, or your cousin. We only count who is related to the child. This page right here is going to be just going to ask that your child speak English fluently. That doesn't mean that your child they have not learned how to speak English. It's just meaning that is English their first language. And then does the child family speak English? And then what is the language spoken at home? The online application, it can be translated into 200 different languages. So if English is not your first language, you can go to that drop down where it says the language preference, and you can click on whatever you need to click on that fits you best, and it translates that for you. But when it comes to us, it's in the English form. And then the child wellness is asking if your child has had an assessment, the health assessment. That right there, we don't need that. So the online application is not going to ask you to upload that, but you will need that if your child actually gets placed at an NC Pre-K program site. And then drop down, number 5 says, does your child have a medical condition or other special needs? So that's where we were talking about, like if some type of disability, so you would answer that one. Number 6 says, does your child have an identified educational need or a development delay? That's that IEP, and then the other things that could be a developmental delay. So you will answer that. And does your child have an active IEP? You will answer that one. Number 8, does the child have a parent that who is a member of the North Carolina National Guard State Military. That's going back asking, is there anybody in that, well, not anybody, but is the mother or father of that child in the military or their active duty, or was they injured or killed while serving in active duty? You can answer that question. Then we're going to move down to the child's preschool experience. So number 9 is just asking you that, has your child ever been in a preschool or a child care home or a Head Start program? Have they ever? So you would answer that. Number 10 says, is your child currently enrolled in a preschool, child care center, home, or a Head Start program? Number 11 said, are you currently receiving DSS child care vouchers? And then you're going to answer that and the number of hours. Number 12, are you currently receiving financial assistance from Smart Start Child Care Scholarship? So I'm going to pause right there. So if you are in our program that we offer at Smart Start of Davidson County scholarships, you are not eligible for NC Pre-K. You can't be a part of scholarship and NC Pre-K at the same time. So you will either have to drop your scholarship and accept, NC Pre-K, or you can keep your scholarship and not be in, the free program. And scholarship is based, just lost my train of thought. It is a parent fee versus NC Pre-K is absolutely free. So you have to think about that. But you can, let's say that you do say yes to that. So when I look at that application, I will ask the Smart Start, the scholarship team. I will, give them your name and everything, and then I will see that where you at, because you may be aging out, because the program is only for a certain age. So you may be aging out. So that's why you did put that on there. But March, they're still in the scholarship program, because the place that where they're at, you probably won't pull them out into the summer. So I will correspond with the scholarship team to see if you are eligible to age out of that and if you can participate in the program. Number 13 says, are you currently working in the school readiness specialist program? And that's the parents as teacher program. We just want to know, have you been in that program? It's just for data, collection, the reasons. And then family needs. Transportation is not provided for any of the public schools or any of the private child care sites. So you will have to provide that transportation. So keep in mind that when you are choosing those sites, use your GPS and just, navigate on your phone, use maps or Google Maps or whatever to see how far that site is, because what happens every year, I place some kids at sites that the families have chosen, and then they, will let me know, hey, that's a 45-minute drive, or that's too far. And I do understand, but I have to go with what you give me. I don't choose the site for you. I go with whatever you put on your application. So just keep that in mind, that when you are looking at these sites. And then we just ask, how did you hear about us? So we just want to know, how did you hear about us? Okay. This page right here is the income page. So on the online application, everything you see here is going to be on the online. It's going to ask, are you employed? Are you seeking employment? Are you in school? Are you in high school? Are you attending job training or other? And then if you are employed, it's going to ask for your income. So it's monthly, bi-weekly, or bi-monthly, or weekly. And then it's going to ask you to answer these questions. Do you receive child support? Do you receive unemployment? Do you receive workers' comp? Do you receive retirement or disability? And do you receive SSI? And it's going to say SSA, TANF, and work first. So it's going to ask you for all of those things, and you have to answer all of those, or it's not going to let you submit your application. So one section is for the one parent and the other one is for the second parent. So if there's only one parent on the application, you can click NA, meaning that there's only one parent when you get to parent two. And you're just going to say NA, and you're just going to put NA for all of the boxes if there's just one parent. Then where the two yellow stars at, no income statement. So if you are not receiving any type of income, that means you don't get child support, you don't get unemployment. Those are things that we require that are income. So if you don't get it on the online application, there is going to be a place that say, if you do not receive any of these, then you need to check those boxes and say, I do not receive any of the income. This page right here is a wage verification form. So if you just started, we only use this if you just started your job when you're filling out the online application and you don't have any pay stubs yet. We need you to get this filled out by your employer, and they will fill it out, not you. And then they have to put their phone number and an email so we can contact them. So we do verify this information. So when you are doing your online application, this is a form that you can actually upload. So you can't actually like do it inside of there because of course you have to get it filled out. So what I would say is that you would have to print this. So you can either take a picture of it or, if you have a printer, you print it, but you would have to get it filled out by your employer. And then you can actually upload it back onto your dashboard once you get it filled out. And I forgot to tell you guys, but when we talked about the health assessment that I said that we don't need it, but the sites need it, that is also a form that you can actually go to the link and you can get that form that's on the online application as well. So we made that available for you to print off. Okay. This page right here, in the middle, it would normally have a map, but since this is online, you guys don't get a map. So these are the sites again that you actually saw in the beginning. So on the online application, you will see these names of the sites. They do have the phone number, so you can call before you get ready to choose them. They do have the address, so you can Google MapQuest, Google Maps, or whatever to see how far that the site is. We do have a new one, and the new one is number 16, is Thomasville YMCA. So if you're out in that area, I would encourage you to actually put that one down because they are a brand new site for this year. Let's see. So I know I went a little fast, but I wanted to make sure that we had time for questions, and I was just trying to check the time. So we are actually at the end. So if you have, and I see people have put something in the chat, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask it, and I will try my best to answer it. I'm gonna see.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my question is, you were saying not to list the grandparents on the household sheet, who lives in the household,
Uh-huh.
but our granddaughter, she lives with me and my wife, and we're her grandparents. We're the only ones in the household. So would we not list anybody?
No, so you would list you and the grandmother because you are the sole, providers. You're the
Right. Yeah.
guardians. Yes.
Yeah,
So
we have custody, so we would
gotcha.
list
Okay.
our name.
Okay. So
Okay.
I was only saying that if if say like the parent or mom or dad, they live with the grandparents and the cousins
Okay,
and uncles were
okay,
there, they put everybody, and now we got a household of 9 people, but it's
right.
really the child and the mom and maybe, some siblings. But if you are the provider, then yes, you will put you down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
I
not sure if,
do have a question.
yes, uh-huh.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My question is, when we do the application online, do we upload all the pay stuff and the income there?
You do, yes. It's called your dashboard. So when you put in like all the information that it's asking you for, as far as like your drop down boxes, it's like yes or no, answers, and maybe you're gonna put in that how much you make, if all that. Once you get to the end of that, the very end, because you can't go any further, it's gonna ask you to submit that application. Once you hit submit, or it could say proceed, I can't remember, it's gonna direct you to a dashboard, and then that's when you're gonna see a screen, and whatever you clicked on. So let's just say that you clicked on that you work. So of course we need the child's birth certificate. So when you get to that dashboard, it's gonna say birth certificate. It's going to say proof of income. It's going to list everything that you need to upload according to what you answered. So once you do that, it's no mystery to say, oh, well, what am I supposed to upload? Because I don't really know. It's going to tell you that. And so you're just going to click on whatever it tells you to click on, and then it's going to say upload, and it's going to look like, it's going to say like browse or camera. So let's say you're using your phone, it's going to say camera, or it's going to say photos. And so you're just going to go to wherever that document is that you want to upload, and you're just going to click on it, and it's going to upload, and it'll show you that it's in there.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're breaking up, like it's cutting in and out.
I just say thank you.
You're welcome.
Carmen, would you touch base again? I've got somebody asking a question about receiving the vouchers from DSS. Do you still want them to apply if they have DSS vouchers? She didn't catch what you were saying during that part. And
Oh, I didn't say anything about that you couldn't apply. I just said go ahead and check if you are receiving those vouchers. Go ahead and check that you're receiving those vouchers, and then it's going to ask you for the hours and the time of day, or that type of information, and then you're just going to check that.
I have one question. I'm sorry. What do we do? Do we include if we have a baby on the way and they will be in the household before the child starts school? Do we include them as a household person, as a household member on the application?
Okay, so you will not. So how the program works is at the time that you submit that application, whatever that is your family household situation, that's what you will report.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
If we work already at the school, is there a way we could notate that on the application? So maybe they could um kind of like give us priority to that certain school.
We can't. We do it. So the program is a first come, first serve if you are eligible basis. So that's how we do the placement. So I mean, I get what you're saying, but we can't do that to make it fair to all families. It's whenever you submit your application and it's complete and we process it, then the better chance that you are of getting into the program if you apply as early as March the 14th, and from that date on.
The
I had
application, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The application will be ready at 8 a.m.
It will. We can't put it up now because we are still doing in-house training on it. So we can't put it up. And then also we don't want it up because you can be able to go in there and start filling out the application. But see, open enrollment for 25-26 year, it doesn't start until March the 14th at 8 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had an income question.
Mhm.
Say you're self-employed, it's very limited, but I wouldn't know how to, you don't get a W-2 or, a
Mhm.
pay stub. And my husband does work, but I don't, being self-employed, I actually don't work that often, but I
Mhm.
still have to list it. So how does that work?
So there is, and I forgot to say that there is, when you go on the application, you're gonna see links, that things that you can actually open up and print. So the self-employment, that is actually in there as well, and it's gonna say self-employment. So it's broken down into 4 weeks and 7 days for each week. So you would just write down like for week 1 is going to have 7 days, and it's going to be like Sunday to Saturday, I believe. You're going to have to fill that out as much as you can to where it makes sense when it's submitted. If not, then you'll get like an email or a call if you opt into, receive a call or text messages, letting you know that you need to submit some more information. So let's just say that first week, let's say your husband he did a job for 1 day. So whatever day that was, you're gonna like the most recent. So when you're submitting these applications, March the 14th is the day. So most recent is going to be anything you did in March, and you go all the way back to February. That's as far as you can go with the income. So you can't do any January because that's not really most recent. So you would just put in that whatever he made on that day, and let's say he didn't do anything else for the week. So you can just put 0 zeros. So then you're going to go to week 2, and whatever he did for week 2, you're going to put those dates down there and you fill that out. And then we just need a month's worth of income if you are self-employed.
Okay, great. So for him, I would he has a regular job. He gets paid weekly. I would put all 4 of his pay stubs, and then me,
Uh-huh.
I would just write fill out 4 weeks worth
Right.
of my self-employment. Okay, perfect. Thank you
That's
so much.
correct. You're welcome.
I do have a
What's
question.
the income limit?
Okay, I can answer that income limit first. I don't have the paper in front of me, but it will be, we are actually updating our website. So if you go to the website, I know I gave the information today. I don't know if our person actually uploaded everything today, or she may be waiting till March the 14th when the application goes live. But when you go on there and it says NC Pre-K application, I think ready to apply, you click on that link, and then well, before you click on the link, when you go to our page, you'll see where it says income guidelines. You'll click on that, and you can see what are the new guidelines, because they did update them. So it's a little bit more than what it was last year, meaning it's broader now than what it was the year before.
Yeah, that's not updated yet. That's still
Okay.
for 2025.
Okay. I will let her know that on tomorrow to see if she can actually put that up there. So if you check back tomorrow, like noon, it should be up there. I'll check and see if she can put it up there.
Now, my question was, they did implement the earlier start in school this year for Davidson County schools. So does that mean that we'll be finding out much sooner than we would have last year?
That can be a yes, and then yes. I'm going to say yes. The only reason why it takes a little longer to actually let you know, because we start our process in March. So we are waiting for state funds. So we never want, when I read it like in the beginning on the application where it was saying, you know, the funding, we never like to place children and let parents know, and then we don't get the funding that we did, you know, the previous years. And then we have to call all those parents and say, hey, sorry, you know, your child's not in the program because we didn't get the funding. So I am aware that Davidson County does go back on August the 11th. So I should be able to, like, early July, because, like, again, we have to wait until the funding is actually, that's the only reason why it takes this long, or you wouldn't find out until August. And then too, teachers don't come back until August. So with this online, it's actually going to benefit the parents and the teachers better now, because when I go to place your child, you would actually get an email. And if you opt in to get a text or a phone call, you will get that as well. And then you'll get a notification saying, I'm just going to say Churchland, your child has been placed at Churchland, and then it's going to ask for you to accept or deny that placement. So that's the really great part that I'm excited about. So I can, as you said, so that answer that you, well, that question that you said, yes, it's going to be a whole lot sooner that the parents will actually find out if their child actually got placed at a site.
That's awesome.
What happens if we hit deny on that result that we get, like for the placement or the location that we receive? Does it go to like the next option in line of what we chose, or does it just forfeit the entire application as a whole? Like, what happens if you hit deny?
Well, if you hit deny, then I can't place you because you've denied that placement. So you won't even see your sites, like how you go into the application, the initial process where you pick, you know, like your 4 or 5 sites. You don't get to see that. That's just on the office end. When I get ready to place and I place your child at one of those sites and you click deny, I have to move on to the next child and see if that family wants that slot. So how placement go is, it's basically, again, you know, like I said, the earlier that you get your application in and is complete, we process it. I mean, we work really hard to process all complete applications. So if it's complete, then we're going to process it. But when it comes time to placement, only certain sites have a certain number of slots. So I'm going on Churchland again. They have 2 different classrooms and they have 10 kids in each classroom. So they serve 20 kids. So if you chose Churchland as your first choice and you got your application in there and it was processed within that first 20 children, then you're going to get placed there. But let's say I get to your application and you're number 21. Well, I can't place you at Churchland. So now I'm going to look at your second choice. Most likely when it comes to placement, I normally place families at their first and second choice. It's very rare that I get to the third and fourth choice. And when I get to those choices, you probably will be placed on a wait list because you can't get in there. And that is those schools like Welcome and Tyro and Friendship and Freeburg, because everybody wants them. But the downside to that is they don't have a full classroom. So really a full classroom is actually 18 kids. But because these sites have only chosen to have less than 18, that's what they have. So, you know, some have 7 slots and some have 6. So it's really hard to get in to those unless you are one of the very first people that submit your application. So that's not on us. That's just what they chose.
Okay. Based on the submission, the first come, first serve,
Mhm.
you put it in online, and then of course you have to upload it, which means you probably have to, if you don't have a printer at home, you have to get it printed and then take a picture and upload it that way, correct? Or can you fill it out online? The
No, you can
expert
fill it out
edition.
online. Everything is online. Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah. You just have to have a way to upload your documentations.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Carmen,
Thank you.
I had put in the comments that when you're taking a picture, sometimes those images don't come in clearly. So if you don't have a scanner, one of the other options that you have to make sure that it comes in clear and we get the documentation we need, and you're not delayed with that documentation, is you can bring that documentation by the office and have it scanned in that way. So that'll be an option for anybody that doesn't have a scanner.
Okay. Thank you.
I have another question. Now, what if you live in Davidson County, but you work in Forsyth County? Are you able to apply to both pre-K programs in both counties, or it has to be one or the other?
You have to, okay, so I can answer that two different ways. If you live in Davidson County, you are going to be looked at first. If you live in another county, you can still, because it's been open now, that you can still apply in a different county from what you live in, but you won't be first or second priority, because the goal is to serve the children that actually live in that county first. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And then I will say, if you're a little confused, like when you said Forsyth County, like I do have some parents that say, well, I think I might be in Forsyth or I might be in Davidson. You can always call Forsyth County Smart Start and just give them your address, and they will let you know, or call us and we will let you know which county that you're in, because you could be like right on that line. And some parents actually live, right on that line, but they're in Davidson County.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just asking more so like if in the event there was a school on the way to work that would be easier to drop off my kid at school if I'm working in Forsyth County. I live in Davidson.
Right.
So that was the reason why I was asking to see if we're
Gotcha.
able
Yeah.
to do applications on both counties or if it had to be one or the other.
Well, and I would say that if some parents do try to do that, it will flag you. Once we
Okay.
go in to put that, the Davidson County application in, it'll flag and say, hey, we see this child has an application in Forsyth County. And then once I see that, I automatically stop, because then I'm like, okay, all right, because I don't know. I know you're trying to do both, but you can't do both. So I'm like, I don't know. Should I call Forsyth and ask them, or should I proceed with it? So really, I'll stop and I'll just call the parent and say, hey, I noticed that you have an application there. And sometimes parents will do that and they forget that they've done it because they either moved or they changed their mind and they called the Smart Start, but they never took the application out. So it's not like I'll overlook it. I have to stop and then call you and say, hey, did you realize this?
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm referring back to the chat because somebody asked a very good question that you spoke about when it came to uploading documents. So photos are absolutely off the table. Is that correct for documents?
No.
Okay.
You can use your phone to take a picture of it. I just believe that Vicky was making reference to that sometimes they don't come out right, but in this case, I don't think that you would have that problem, but she was just letting you know that if you wanted to, we have a scanner here. So
Okay.
basically, if you submitted your application, And you just needed to upload your documents. Because remember, I said that once you submit, you can't go back, and then you can't save the application, but you can submit it with missing documentation. You just have to go back into your account. You're going to log back in, and then you're going to go to your dashboard, and it's going to still be up there, the items that you are missing. If you wanted to come into the office and just run it through the scanner and save it on our desktop, and then you upload it from there, you would. But I mean, that's like a lot of work if you wanted to do that, but you're capable of doing it with your phone.
Okay. And then my last question of the night. So usually when it comes to pre-K and you'd go through pre-K through like the school or something, they do like pre-K assessments. Do y'all do pre-K assessments, like doing the screening?
Yeah. Well, Smart Start doesn't. We don't do any of that. We leave that up for the sites, but that is not an assessment to say whether your child gets in or not.
Okay.
It may be determined like how they group up your children, like in certain classrooms or anything like that. Now, I will say Thomasville Primary, if you're looking at to go to that school, they do their screenings in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So they are urging, because this is new for the online. So they do want you to go ahead and fill out your application on March the 14th, or after, because the process was that when you showed up at their school for your screening, you would actually do the application then. Well, they said that they have like a laptop set up, but that's a lot of parents or families trying to fill out the application. So I will speak on their behalf and say, if you're looking at to go to that site, you go ahead and fill out that application first, before they like before you go to your screening.
Yeah, their website is so outdated though. There's not anything on their website.
Oh, okay. I don't have their dates. I normally get their dates for screening. I haven't asked, but last year I think it was like March and April. I think they did
Yeah.
some in March and in April. And I did want to put out there, so Thomasville Primary has 50 slots there. South Lexington has 70 slots. And then Davidson County Schools have 100. But of course, they're scattered, all over. And then the private sites, I don't know that number, but all of the private sites have at least one classroom with 18. Yeah.
So someone told me you can apply to both when it comes to like Thomasville Primary doing screenings and doing the Smart Start at the same time. I just verify that that's right.
Well, when you say Thomasville and Smart Start at the same time, what are you referring to when you say Thomasville?
Because they do their own pre-K screenings and stuff, and they do their own pre-K, and then y'all are like a separate program. You're able to do both at the same time, correct? To see which one you get in first.
No. The
No.
thing is, all of the NC pre-K slots come through us. So
Okay.
we place them in Smart Start. So we place them at Thomasville. I think what you are referring to, that when you go there, they're looking at different ways of how they can place you. Like if it's going to be Title I, or if it's going to be NC pre-K, that's what they're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure on the Title I or NC pre-K like differences and such.
Right.
And it could also be, Carmen, that she's thinking about the Thomasville Primary has their pre-K that is, or their program that is EC for preschoolers. And so that might have been what she was thinking about.
Okay.
What is EC?
Exceptional children. They have a
Okay.
class for children with special needs, or any kind of individualized education plan, the IEPs. So sometimes people will refer to both of those as pre-K, but NC pre-K is actually our classrooms, and then their EC classroom is they refer to it as a pre-K as well. But it is for children that qualify based upon a special need.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to make sure, because I had called and spoke to somebody, and they actually were the ones that told me that Thomasville Primary does their own screenings and whatnot. So we're already scheduled for a screening through them. I wasn't sure how it would work, doing
Yeah,
both.
that screening process will determine whether or not they recommend for NC pre-K or if your child would qualify for EC services.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so I see the time is 7:35. I just want to be, mindful of that. Does anybody have any more questions? I know I do see the chat, but I don't see what's in there.
I've been responding to the chats.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned that we need to create an account for NC Pre-K online application. When are we able to do that? Only on 14th at 8 a.m. or can we do it like create the account before that time?
You can't do it until the 14th. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't go live until then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Is there a way we could get the recording of this meeting?
Yes. If you, I would say I'm gonna stop sharing. If you could call us and just let them know that you want a recording of this and give them your email address, and they will give that information to me, and I'll make sure that you get a recording of it.
Carmen, we could have them to put their email in the chat box, and I'll save the chats when we get everybody's off, and we could do it that way, and then they wouldn't have to call.
I missed that, but it said something about, there was a question saying, I think if you decline the first choice, can your child go to the second choice? When you decline it, that's just a decline. So I don't go to your second choice. That's like, if it wasn't a paper application, we would kind of like still do the same process. So you can decline it, but you may not want to decline it because then that pushes you out of the rotation. So if you see it, I would suggest you can call and say, hey, is there another way or somewhere so you can put me? But I'm not gonna say 100 out of 100, but maybe 9 times out of 10, the reason why you didn't get it is because I couldn't get you in there. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I literally look at your choices, and by the time I get to your application, if that site is full, then I go to your second choice. So I think what you're asking is basically, I do look at your second choice and I do look at your third choice, but if you decline that slot, then you decline the whole application. Is going to be declined. I hope I'm making sense, because I do look at you first. And if I
was asking that if like if my first choice, like if because I really want my child to go to South Lexington because we live in Lexington City Schools. So a Davidson County school I don't think would be anything that would be in my area. And then the private schools, there's only like the 2 options in Lexington. So if I pick South Lexington for my first one and my child was not available, like able to get picked for that one, but then you all picked one of my second options, which I really don't want one of the second options, like what would I need to do then to like maybe wait for an opening for just South Lexington?
If you decline it, I'm going to put you on a wait list for your first choice. So you can call and just, like, tell us what the situation is. But that's why I was giving you the number of slots to like kind of give you an idea. South Lexington has 70 slots. I don't want to say like you're going to get in. But if you fill out your application, I'm confident enough to say if it's complete and you have everything and we're able to process it, if you turn it in on March the 14th, then they have 70 slots. You're most likely going to get into South Lexington. Mainly what happens is that parents start sending applications like May and June. And by that time, all those Davidson County schools, they're full. Because remember, I said they don't have a full, classroom of like 18 kids. But then we're talking about South Lexington, they have 70 slots. They have 7 classrooms. You talking about Thomasville, they have 4 classrooms and they have 50 slots. And then you have your private sites. So you can pick a public school and a private site as well. You just can't pick any public school that's not in your district. I do the screen before and upload it. It has a screen in. I missed that, Vicky. Someone said that they were sick and they couldn't talk. They said something about a screening. Their child had a screening. Not really sure.
I'm looking to see if I see it.
It left. Okay.
If your child has a screening at the school, that does not have anything to do with the NC pre-K application process. So plan on filling out your application regardless, because what the screenings that take place at the school will not impact what happens with us.
This question says, if I have a foster children in the home, do you list them if it's a biological child? We are. So no, you can list them, but we're not going to count them. So we're going to count that biological child and that biological child's siblings and parents. That's who we count. Now, if you are a foster parent, of course, you're going to list, your name, and then you're going to put the child's name in there. And again, we're not counting you because you're just a foster parent. And sometimes you can have the child, but then they're still under the custody of the state. We need those papers because we can't just take your word for it. We have to have some type of documentation to back up what you're saying. But I appreciate all these questions. I mean, they were some good questions. I'm just trying to scroll back, see if I missed. Closer to you, verify if you are in the dish. If they already have siblings. Okay, so
is
I'm
it
sorry.
okay if we get off from here now if we don't?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. If you are done and you don't have any more questions, you can go. And I appreciate you guys logging in tonight. And I hope the information was helpful. If there's anything that you can think of later, do not hesitate to give us a call at Smart Start, and we will try our best to answer those questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and you have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Somebody said, does first come, first serve for locations apply if they already have siblings going to the school? Again, no, it's based on when you turn in your application, and if it's complete, we'll try our best to put you or to group you with your siblings, but sometimes that is not always possible. I believe that's the district pertains to address. If you're not aware of what district that you live in, you can call those schools that I told you to call. You can call, or you can look it up on the map and it will tell you where your district is. Because you're gonna have to know your district when your child goes to kindergarten.
I just got a message from a friend.
So if there's no more questions, we are going to conclude this meeting. And again, I thank everybody for logging in. I hope the information was helpful. And if you have anything else that you can think of later, call us at the office and we will try our best to answer your questions. But the application for 25-26 go live on March the 14th. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are too. That's why we had this meeting, to take a little bit of the nerves off, you know, because I know change is not good for some people, but change is good. So we're trying to move, you know, to, you know, make this change. So I appreciate everybody for logging on, and I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You're
Good night.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. Good
welcome.
night.